No matter the time you give, the education that you get, no one could ever pay you for what's in your heart. When they started asking me to do things that was not ethical, I decided that I could not do it. We married, we divorced, and we remarried. We had our first child at 16. The supporting families that we have, because I think that without our families, for us to still have a future would not have been possible.
In a world that often measures success by volume, we're pausing to listen for something quieter, the values that shape how people really live, lead, and love. This is Talk with Tia, conversations with everyday people living what matters most. Extraordinary lives, everyday values. Hi everyone, this is Talk with Tia, Extraordinary Lives, Everyday Values. Today, I'm joined by Valencia Turner from Project SYNCERE, an organization that creates pathways for underrepresented students to pursue careers in STEM. Through hands-on engineering education, they've reached over 30,000 students across Chicago. This is a conversation about purpose and the values behind changing systems. Have a listen. Hi everyone, I'm here with Valencia Turner, and we're here to talk about values and what she does with her in her day job and just their everyday life. So before we get started, Valencia, maybe can you tell our listeners what day in the life is like for you? It doesn't have to be around your career, just your life, maybe home life, on a Saturday. What's your typical life look like?
My typical life looks like busy. So I am a mother and a grandmother. So my children are all adults, but they have very busy lives. And so on a typical weekday, we all go to work. On the weekends, we try to get family time in. We try to, go do something that is valuable to us among each other. And I think that I'm a big inspiration person. So I'm just making sure that I stay in touch with my humanity side. So I do give back a lot, which is one of the reasons why I love working for a nonprofit. So that's my day to day.
Yeah, so how many grandchildren do you have?
I have two. One is 7 and one is 1.
Wow. Well, I told you, soon to be for me in about 3 weeks. So you might.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to have you here today. And I was reading more about Project SYNCERE, and I can see why it's so enriching and so motivating. I actually wanted to know what the acronym stood for. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it says it's supporting youth's needs with core engineering research experiments.
Yes.
It's so interesting and amazing that they were able to create that acronym, because the word sincere is such a special word, because this project is so sincere.
Yes.
And I read about the founder and about, I think you have empowerment, is it called? Empowered Games. So we can talk a little bit about that. But first, you didn't start your career at Project SYNCERE. Your everyday job was not maybe in touch as much with humanity, if I'm correct.
No. So I actually started out in the technology field because I like building. So that kind of will point back to where I am now. But I like building. And so I worked at Motorola for a little while. And then I went to AT&T and Verizon. Was kind of, I did some outside stuff, and then I decided to come inside. And I decided that, the best thing for me to do is do what makes me more happy, and that's communicating with others and helping people learn more about what they could do and the possibilities around what they like to do, or maybe not even have the idea that they want it, because I've talked to so many young people who have no idea what it is that they want to do, although they may be a senior in high school, or they're still in undergrad and they have no idea what it is that they truly want to do with themselves. So just being in a space that gave me the capacity to do those things was great opportunities for me. I then transitioned over because I kind of got tired of technology, and I was like, I'm just not going to do telecommunications anymore.
Did you meet the founder at Motorola? Because he started his career as well. Did you know that he was at
Oh
Motorola. But the
no,
found
actually he's actually younger than I am, right? And
right.
so
Okay.
we were at two different locations, but at two different times. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah, when I was there, he wasn't. But if we had a been there at the same time, I worked in the Motorola in Schaumburg, so our he worked I think in Rolling Meadows. But if we was to have one big group meeting, we would have saw each other there.
You would have met.
Yeah,
That's
but
so amazing.
yeah.
Yeah. And so you were actually volunteering at Project Sincere or doing that on the side before you joined them full time then.
No,
See, or was it?
actually, I had never heard of Project Sincere ever
Hmm.
before I joined them. I actually, at the time when I joined Project Sincere, I was working for a small agency that was housed in Chicago, and I've been very hands on with my kids, and so to be transparent, I started looking for a job that was no. Before I came to Project Sincere, I went downtown and started working. I'm not a downtown Chicago person. I don't
Yeah.
like walking fast. I,
I
I
get
I just didn't like that. However, the I ended up working for an organization that was heavy on technology, gave me all the parts of the small things that I was missing. So I was able to start doing more under the HR realm, where I was actually interviewing and doing payroll and doing um, these other reports and things as a contractor for these other companies. So the company actually sent technicians. We hired technicians to go around the U.S. to put up the poles for cable and phone service and things like that. So it was very, I think for me, being responsible for over 300 people uh, and never talking to them wasn't what I had the idea of doing.
yeah. Wasn't enriching enough.
No.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. I felt a lot that I felt that same way when I was a lawyer in a big law firm.
Yeah.
You kind of feel like a cog, but if you really, it's in your heart and soul to help make change,
Yes.
then really, well, that's interesting. Then it leads me into a good question for you. So obviously values are important to you.
Mhm.
So if you had to define it, do you have if your own personal definition of values, what would it be?
Trust is definitely very big for me, and making sure you do things from your heart. Because for me, I share this with my kids from when they can actually understand, is that no matter the time you give, the education that you get, no one could ever pay you for what's in your heart, because your heart
True.
is always going to be bigger than what you actually can give. Um, but, and which is why people get so exhausted, because you're doing things from the heart. But if you're doing them with sincerity, with trust and honesty, then it doesn't feel so taxing. and
Yeah.
and so for me, making sure that you can live with yourself the next day. I actually worked for a company, I'm not going to name the company. I did very well, honestly. I won a lot of awards. But also what people got from me was honesty
Yeah.
and education. um and so when they started asking me to do things that was not ethical, I decided
Yeah.
that I could not do it. I needed to be able to live with myself and sleep well at night.
Yeah.
And so I left. I left there and pursue other things. Went back to technology actually. So
Well, that's interesting because that answers a question I always talk to guests about, and it is just those transitions in life when things aren't aligning with your values. Sometimes people stay and they have, consequences that aren't so good. But if you can kind of have that courage to leave sooner than waiting for something negative to happen, then that's great. I mean, so when you went to Project Sincere, it's interesting to me reading about them. I was reading that I think there was something posted on your LinkedIn of like almost 60% come in that they're beneath the poverty line.
mhm.
So are they coming after school? Like what age groups? Because I saw that you guys bring your program to the schools themselves to show the students what it means to work in the STEM area? What's the age that you can begin with
So our students are actually going from ages, they go into the schools and they start at the school level is 6. They may have some fifth graders that trickle in, depending on what the school parameters are. But they go in at 6th grade, and so for what is our empowered program, which you kind of mentioned, that is our Monday through Thursday program where our instructors go into the schools and they teach project-based learning to those students during a period in which the school and Project Sincere has designated. On Saturday, though, we have a much more enriching program because we can kind of tweak it how we want. And those kids actually get interviewed. They come to the program on Saturday. So after they've been in school all week, they then come to a program for more learning. And sometimes it's more intense than what they may have did during their week at school, even if they go to a STEM school. They have hands-on learning, and it is today, the hours are from 9 to 1. Previously, they were staying there till 3 o'clock. So it's definitely a very intense program. It runs from when school starts. So we start in like October and we end in June, and that's called Academy. On our empowered side, we have what we call Empower Games, and we just actually finished this on Tuesday. We just had Empower Game number 9, and it was I think there was some television screenage out there for it. They were there. 2 channels was there, and those students that we go into the schools and teach, they actually have never met each other, and they compete against each other.
That's amazing.
And then there are groups within the school who compete against each other as well. But overall, it's the top 3 that schools, they come out with a trophy.
Oh, so the school, it's like a school-wide competition.
Yeah, so it's those kids that was in the program, and then they come. Normally, they're divided up in groups, and sometimes they can be as big as 4 to 5 groups. Each group come in, and they're competing against one another in certain competitions, and then the award will go to the school. So
that's
it's just
amazing.
not like, this group
one
won.
person.
Mm-hmm.
That's great, because then they can feel like they all are taking part, and they can all feel good about that. That's amazing. So I imagine you must see some situations, some sad situations too, where maybe some children want to be there and don't. I mean, because they have to get there, right? Some of these kids are coming from these disadvantaged backgrounds. Are they able to show up? Do they have parents that, regularly bring them? I mean, have you seen some sad stories or stories where you've had kids that have wanted to participate, or it's mostly just you're seeing more goodness out of all of this?
So in the areas in which we go into, those students during the day, they don't have to go anywhere for empowered games, or even if we go on a field trip, we provide the buses, and so we get the kids there. We provide lunch, and so everybody, just as if they were at school, they will eat with no problems. But on Saturday, those students, their parents probably would bring them, or some of them catch the bus, but most often those parents want to bring those students, because some parents understand the value of what the kids could be learning, because otherwise they may not have gotten this piece of education, or may not know about engineering. Because even though we're a STEM organization, Saturday is definitely preference towards engineering. And so you have the parents who, from word of mouth, or students that are at the schools that we service during the week, may have a desire to see what's going on.
Yeah, that's great.
And so, not so much as that we hear the sad stories.
And you must see a lot of happy stories, though, because I imagine that do you guys keep track of some of the students that then go on to go to university, become engineers themselves, or even just become electricians and go into the trade schools? Do you guys keep track of some of those things? I mean, I know you're a younger organization, right? 2019? When did it come together?
No, we've been out since 2008. We've actually, this is 18 years. actually.
Wow.
Yes.
You must have some data then on what you're seeing
Yeah,
afterwards.
so we have students that have came back and been instructors.
Wow.
And we have students that have went on to work with organizations that sponsor us. And then there are organizations that also, they give to Project Sincere for students to continue on in higher education. So it's definitely a 360. Students can come back. We do keep a track of those students, and so if they stay in touch, we stay in touch as well.
So do you see any of this passed down on your children? Are any of them involved in this type of work, or do they do any like work in
Absolutely not.
not-for-profit?
My Now what they are involved in is the humanities side. So they're not engineers. They don't have the desire to be. I have two therapists, um, and
Wow.
one who is pursuing entrepreneurship. So he
Wow.
hasn't truly developed which way he wants to go, but um
He's
his thing is being able to work for himself. So that's the
yeah.
route he's actually going right now. And then the other two are therapists. My oldest daughter actually will be getting her doctoral degree next month.
Wow, amazing. So
Yeah.
you obviously passed on some really strong values with them. I mean, I guess when you think about the humanity and those things that are important to you, trust, and basically I think what you talked about is being authentic and true to yourself and being able to live with yourself with the decisions you make.
Hmm.
Did that come from a place from you, from where you came from growing up? Did you have like a strong household of faith? Did you have who gave that to you? Like because I think that when you talk about values work, typically it comes from our faith and our families and our communities. I mean, is there something that stands out to you where that kind of drilled in those important values?
It's definitely faith. I can tell you, it's definitely faith. I grew up with uh, a family that supported me for as much as they could. My parents were not together, but they still parent.
Yep.
Um, and so they showed my sister and I some very strong work values, and instilling in us, to treat people with fairness. I probably have not missed a game for anyone. I try to be there as much as I can. So, for me, family being supportive, family being authentic is definitely something I have pushed over to my kids.
And your parents did a good job with
Yeah.
that. Like you said, I think even when parents are not together, sometimes that makes it more difficult. But when you have two parents that at least have a similar agenda with giving you and your sister this solid foundation, then, I think we're all blessed by that if we get that from
Yeah.
parents, which is nice. So when you think about this is a little bit introspective of yourself, but in my work, we look at a lot of biases and just the little behaviors, those things that kind of live beneath the surface, that habits that we might have that we don't always like. Are there things that come to mind that you might have that you work on? I spoke with a woman the other day who told me that she was had a long military career, and it was really interesting because she talked about um, as a woman, how the thing that she unconsciously does a lot of is apologizing. Do you have something that kind of appears like in your life that's something that's like a sticking point? You're like, oh, I work on that.
I'm gonna say to stay in my lane, because I think I was a teenage parent, and so me and my husband, we both was teenage parents,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
as crazy as it is, we never talked about kids. We never, even today, after our daughter's about to be 39, and then our next
Wow.
one is 30. I think she's 31. Yes, and so even when we talk about, like, we never planned for kids, we never talked about it, um is that one of the things for me, I'm learning to stay in my own lane, because as a mother, I was always trying to make sure everybody else was taken care of. And so um learning to just be present for people that you don't have to do a day-to-day thing with anymore is what, for me, I'm learning in my personal life as well as my professional life, because I am that person that will be like, okay, you need this done. Okay, I could do it, even if it's not within my job description.
Yeah.
Especially because when we're talking about kids, I never want someone to be a checklist.
In my model, we have something called value blockers, and you just defined what we call the shoulder blocker. And I think that if we do too much shouldering of everybody's responsibilities and somehow feel as if it's our duty, we sometimes then get a little victimized or
Yes.
jaded, and we feel you don't want to be angry about it, but then you start to feel this angry feeling. So wow, so how old? I see you and your husband still together as teenage parents.
Yeah, we have been through a lot.
Wow. Now, how old were you? Like, so high school, like you guys
Yeah,
were
so
going through.
we had our first child at 16. Yeah,
Wow, that's amazing.
yeah.
I mean, truly incredible. I mean, just the things you've accomplished. You went to university, have a master's degree. Was he the same? Was he as
He
ambitious
went to
as
the
you? Or
he went to the military. He went to the
wow,
Navy. So he just did 4 years, and he's been a driver for uh maybe over 20. Let's see, the youngest was a 20, yeah, 20 something years.
wow, that's incredible. I mean, I don't know that. I mean, well, how do you think? Yeah, you've been through a lot, and I get that because I've been married for a long time, not since 16. I met my husband at 22-ish. So I feel like that's forever. I can't. I mean, you don't almost don't have much of a life before you guys were together. That's your
Absolutely,
history.
absolutely.
So
We
what?
married, we divorced, and we remarried.
Oh, I love that. So okay. So why do you think like that's an interesting values? That's like a Billy's values question. Is it because like you made this decision like you guys were so young and then you needed to experience other things like how old were you when you divorced and then got remarried? Were you like in your 30s then or
Yeah,
20s?
we were in our late 30s when we remarried. Um, but we were together, I think, like 8 years married. We didn't marry till we were 24.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. But that's amazing. So, I mean, what do you think? What's the component of that kind of partnership? I mean, marriage goes well beyond just we know that what you imagine when you're a young child
Yeah.
or a teenager. I mean, it's like, what do you think is the foundation that, everything you've been through? What's the rock? What keeps you together?
The values that we have, and then I think just knowing someone at the same time you're really getting to know yourself. So you have that comfortability, and then you have uh, the value of family, and I think
Yeah.
that's what it is for both of us.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree. You share those children, and you have a history, and
Yeah,
it's hard to replace that with other things.
yeah.
If it's not too personal, what do you not even not you're not even in your marriage, but in your lives, what do you what's a because I think I like my listeners to hear. I don't know. You have a lot of successes. I mean, you've built a strong, able, loving children. You're with this, on and off maybe once with the same man for all these years. And you were a teenager when you started. If you had sort of difficulty, some big difficulty, your biggest difficulty that you faced, and what values like those same values pulled you through? Do you recall something like I don't know a life changing event for you that really you made you stop, made you think like it was wow. I don't know if I'm going to get through this.
Ours was probably the biggest thing. What everybody said, you got to have some communication, right? So I think that when you are young and you are not taught how to communicate properly with someone that is not in your own home, then trying to mirror two lives together, not knowing the unknown, and
Yeah.
not having a lot of guidance. Both of us was raised by our moms. Our family dynamics are almost very similar. Matter of fact, as funny as it is, our grandmothers was friends, but we did not know each other.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How funny is that?
Yeah, so they
Wow.
grew up in the same, they came from the same city. They knew each other from their childhood, but they came to Chicago, and they would see each other, and they would talk to each other, but we unknowingly did not know that they
Well,
knew each other.
much
So,
later.
yeah, so having that dynamic, and then us coming together, and then they becoming friends again, um, actually I think was very prominent in our life transition. The supporting families that we have, because I think that without our families, for us to still have a future, would not have been possible. We were still able to finish high school. We were still able to pursue other careers. And then, I was still able to go to school while I worked, and he worked as well. And our children was very well taken care of. So
Yeah,
we most certainly had a community
it's amazing.
that helped us. And total, there's five because he has two outside of me, and then there's
Wow.
three. So we, what we built was a foundation that I believe that even if him and I was removed, as what we see now, their siblings will go on to carry on because they are very close, as if there was not multiple parents. They
Wow.
they are very
Now
close.
they've been blended and merged because they have two loving parents, and then they've, kind of, I think that happens. I think if and I also think if you see that friendship,
Yeah.
whatever,
Now
parents
that's
have,
one thing I can say. Even though sometimes we aren't friends, we are definitely that. We are
yeah,
friends. And that is probably what has held us to where we are. It is the friendship. Even when it was, honestly, there was like a year or so we didn't even speak, but we still parent because that was
yeah.
important. We
So
still
what do
do
you
that.
say, like, to your younger self, or let's see, or just, what do you say to that teenage pregnant girl out there today? Like, what would be, I guess, if we could wrap our conversation up a little bit or just talk about that, what would be your advice? I mean, because I'm watching just a 29-year-old be pregnant for the first time, and she's been great, and but what do you say to that? Because your life, you're not you're growing up yourself. You're still a baby in many ways, at 16.
So I'm gonna tell you that because I was brought up in a church. So for me, my parents taught us right from wrong. So I'm not gonna sit here, even in public, and say, "Oh, I didn't know what was happening." Um,
No.
I just thought I wouldn't get caught. That was
Yeah,
what it
well,
was.
right. Well, because you're a
Yeah,
teenager, and that's
and
what we do as teenagers.
yes, and so in that, for me, I felt the conviction that I needed to make sure that I did the things that I was put here to do. And even early on, I knew that my life goal is to definitely be there for other people to help. And sometimes I have to step back and question God, like I think I'm doing too much, but that even early on, that was it, because I think that um my life has been a lot of miracles and wonders, and um, without faith, I don't think I would have made it this far. That has definitely been the one thing that I can say for me, I have stood on is faith in what I know is my path to be. Everything hasn't been very easy. I haven't had everything, but as parents, young parents, my kids have seen different parts of the world. We have traveled. Uh, we have went through financial difficulties, and we have survived.
Yeah.
Um, and
You
today,
always knew your meaning. You
yes,
always knew your meaning.
yeah. And then
I guess
today
you're
I'm doing what I love to do, and that is working in a place where I get to see people, educate young people, and I also get to provide information to people who otherwise may not get it. Understanding how the job force actually works, and what they need to do to be better in the job force, even if it's not where they can come work for Project Sincere, but just going out and getting jobs someplace else. I'm
Yeah.
always in that teaching mode for individuals.
Yeah. Well, it's really just you want them to make it,
Yeah.
and you want them to find their passion. I guess if I summarize what you just said, which was quite beautiful, Valencia, I must
Thank
say, is
you.
that, I mean, you want each of these people, and you want that 16-year-old self who might be pregnant and might come upon hard times, still to understand that they have meaning, and there's something in their life that they need to find it, and they need to go and move in that direction, is what I feel like you're saying to me.
Yes,
And you
definitely.
know,
And
wow.
and you have to be confident, build that confidence up. Although I grew up in church, and my faith was actually built on not what I saw. It was built on what I understood from God. Because what I saw was traditional. And that wasn't what I wanted. I didn't want traditional because sometimes traditions are that without meaning. And
Yeah.
so what I actually learned in knowing faith is just and walking in that unbelief, unseen rather, is that there's gonna be some trials and tribulations. There are gonna be some things that we may not understand. But as long as we are true and as long as it's coming from our hearts, we can manage. I give a lot of my knowing and understanding, and my successes definitely goes to the man upstairs.
Wow.
I wouldn't have been able to do it without him. It just it's not, because there's things sometimes I open up my eyes and say, how could I? But I did, and it wasn't by myself.
You made it.
Definitely with God and my family.
You know what? I couldn't have asked for a better discussion, Valencia. So I'm going to hit stop and thank you so much for this.